Hello, it's Dr. Kevin Sansberry, and we're going to be talking about bare minimum Mondays. So, there was a recent poll. 58% of the 4,000 people surveyed responded that Monday was their least favorite day of the week. And so, when you think about this bare minimum Monday trend, this essentially is a new way of people having to deal with this problem of, the dreaded Mondays, I guess you would say. It's a practice where employees show up to work to only do the bare minimum on Monday, and it can often start with starting the day late to engage in self care for that day. Marissa Joe, a TikToker, described it as a way for her to quell the work pressure and hold herself accountable, completing the least amount of work necessary to get by that day. Now, this video went viral on TikTok, getting over 670,000 views. And if you saw it, Marissa Joe walks through some habits to slow down her Mondays and do things that make her feel good. She even created a dedicated playlist to the so-called bare minimum Mondays and even has a hashtag bare minimum Mondays, and it has about 1.8 million views. So the premise of this is essentially rejecting that pressure that you typically feel on Sunday and prioritizing well-being over productivity. It's really just rejecting hustle culture. So as we know, a lot of trends have manifested since COVID. People are everywhere trying to find ways to cope and find more balance, prioritize self-care, prioritize mental health. And what that's showing is that something's off related to this whole work-life balance thing that we were led to believe. So what I think about, this trend and many of the other trends is I'm all for it. As relates to toxic work cultures and hustle culture, we talk about that a lot on the Toxic Leadership podcast. And, this bare minimum Monday trend, I hope doesn't be a trend. I hope it becomes a norm where people prioritize their well-being. That pressure to always be on and truly engage in that hustle culture and that hamster wheel has a breaking point. And that point is probably your mental well-being, your physical well-being. And so whatever folks have to do to provide themselves with a respite, as they start the work week, during the work week, or what have you, I think they should work on that. Now, I got a few tips for you to make your bare minimum Mondays bearable. So first off, start with the plan. Before Monday arrives, make a list of those essential tasks that you most likely have to complete by the end of that day. Having a clear plan will help you reduce stress and stay focused. Two, you want to figure out what your self-care rituals look like. Figure out what you're going to be doing during your self-care rituals. Make it something that matters. Make it something that works for you. Not everybody likes to meditate. Not everybody likes to go on walks. If you've been missing out on workouts, maybe that's something you want to take advantage of. But the key point is, if you're going to engage in something like bare minimum Mondays, be smart about it. Where it can actually lead to you truly nourishing yourself instead of just sleeping in. Three is set boundaries. I'm a big advocate for clear communication. And so if I were doing bare minimum Mondays, I would be clear about it with my colleagues and managers. And I wouldn't say like, hey, I'm going to do the bare minimum today. I mean, you could if you feel like it, but what I'm getting at is how can you, block off your calendar proactively? How can you send out a message to folks to be like, hey, using some flex time, or I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be start my day a little later on Mondays. And here's why, whatever. I think being clear about it is really important, because it would be kind of weird if you were on a team and you engaged in bare minimum Mondays and you're basically perpetuating other people's hustle culture to your benefit. That's not helping the team. And so I would say, really engage in communicating it to folks, because you might be able to set a trend in your department and start the conversation in a positive way. It's going to be very important to stay accountable, because there are a lot of times where you will engage in something like a bare minimum Monday and you get distracted by TV, or you get distracted by something that's non-essential, because you want to treat like that Monday as the work I'm doing on that Monday. I'm going to just do the essential tasks. But also think about it like this. The self-care you're doing too, you want to treat that like an essential task in itself. So if you get distracted and not even engage in self-care, again, you're going to be wasting your time. And lastly, reflect on your experience. After you do bare minimum Mondays for a few weeks, see how it feels for you. Was it helpful? Did you actually do it? How did your work fare? Did it actually lead to, did it lead to more productivity? Do you feel more engaged? Whatever. But however you evaluate, the point is reflect on your overall experience. So remember, trends and other aspects of how one performs their work are not for everybody. They may not work for your job. But at the end of the day, what these trends are, they may be disruptive to the traditional work. I think people need to understand that the fact that these trends like quiet quitting, bare minimum Mondays, et cetera, are coming up in the first place, they're coming up and they're manifesting for a reason. And so if we get to the root cause of it, we have to look at work culture. We have to do something different. Really look at your work environment and get serious about your organizational culture, because self-care should not be a trend. Self-care should be just a norm. Thank you. I'm Dr. Kevin Sansberry, signing out.